Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Kuni. Let's continue. So I was thinking about it as we'll grind through all of this and just make sure we fight each of these wretches once. It probably isn't a case that what will happen is that there would then be just the remaining smaller cities that don't have real leaders. Um, Yeah, I guess that they probably aren't just gonna get turned with this mana, this ash, in the same way. Because if you go to the like swimsuit city, for instance, that would just be a human, like a bigger, rich human. I don't think it's probably super necessary to go out of your way and fight every single person on uh on the map, but we could use the XP. Plus, I would like to see if something weird happens and all of a sudden we can capture these wretches like familiars, which that would be very weird. Yeah, I don't even know what the boss would be in Hamlin. It's probably going to be a pig tank again. It's If it's not a pig tank, then it's going to be Marquesian transformed into a wretch, which that would be a little weird since he's on your team. So I think we'll clear out this area and then we'll clear out Hamlin. And then the next step will happen and we'll start to see like ash fall on the entire world. And we'll have to go back and fight stronger versions of the Guardians. Just kind of resetting everything and redoing everything, whether you want to or not. Hmm. We're getting decent amounts of XP upgrades here, so it's with going down that route. We know we can't do anything with the stores because the store shopkeepers are missing. Yeah. I suspect we'll see the ash will just fall over the entire world, and that will include the open world familiars, and it will strengthen them, or something will strengthen them and change them. Hmm. 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 It would be a little weird if the familiars don't get any stronger, but you still end up having the guardians be stronger. Hmm. It definitely wouldn't make sense in this game pretending to be kid friendly, particularly with it not really having that of an in depth story. But it would be interesting if there was a case where something like this happened in a JRPG, and for every one I fought, I was literally killing the NPC characters. Hmm. But at a certain level, like I relatively recently played Fallout 3, and you can pretty much kill any NPC character or most of the NPC characters in that game, and it just opens the door for the game to be worse, not better, in almost every scenario. Hmm. Hmm. At a certain level, permanent death in a video game has to be done with a lot of thought and with a lot of care, because most video games you're knocking out or killing hundreds if not thousands of enemies anyway, and it's going to be desensitizing, and it tends not to really have a reason to have. Most games don't have reasons to have permanent death. um, uh, yeah, so most of the time it's not worth the hassle. I think one of the most notorious examples of permanent death coming out of the blue and just being A, not as impactful as they wanted it to be, and B, like completely unexpected, is in Borderlands 2, one of the major main characters dies, but canonically in the Borderlands world, you every single person dies and then is cloned slash respawned, resurrected, teleported at the last second right before they die, whatever. However, they accurately explained it. So yeah, it just didn't make sense for all of a sudden this one person dying for that one to stick and none of the other times to stick. And even had they better explained it to my understanding, it still wouldn't have really mattered, because the character, I believe his name was Roland, is not really a character I cared about. Because Borderlands as a series, Borderlands 1 and 2, is a game where you just pick character classes in the same way you'd pick character classes in any RPG game, and they were kind of nameless. Well, they had names, but they were pretty much faceless characters and personalityless characters um, in the first game. And then they tried to give them personality in the second game, and that only worked a little, really not as much as it would have needed to. And at this point, between spin offs and side games and Telltale Borderlands games, there's still really not a character in the Borderlands series that I particularly would care if they died, because it's not a series designed around the idea of caring about the characters. It's more designed around the idea of just having fun. These pots aren't refilling. You would have to expect that these wretches would look like the same clothes as the characters that they're supposed to be replacing, but they really aren't wearing the same clothes. Maybe they're wearing clothes similar to what the Ding Dong Dell characters would look like, but even at that, it doesn't really feel like that's the case. Hmm. Hmm. Slowly we go up in the levels. It would probably make more sense if the characters, the NPCs in this game, to get back to talking to this game, uh, it would have made more sense if they kind of had disappeared once you were done with them, anyways. Uh, just not been there next time you loaded into an area. Sure, you might have some characters standing around, but it didn't need to be as many as there were, and that particularly creates a problem when you feel the need to talk to every character in the city in case one of them is going to give you some alchemy formula, and they could also be handing you pieces of advice that I'm not really reading what they're saying, so if they were giving out advice, I'm mostly missing it, or almost completely missing it. Going out of your way to fight every single one of these creatures for in Alma Moon is really only going to get me up a couple levels, and it's still not going to make up for uh, skipping all those fights in Ding Dong Dell. So if I feel like I'm actually a little lower level than I should be, which I probably am, I should really try and find some open world area that has decent competitors that I could find. Wonder if the milk is poisoned. It looks darker, but then everything feels like it has kind of a fog filter around it. Hmm. 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 Let's see. Yeah. I wonder if I tried to do the secret ingredient, if it would make some kind of rotten cheese. But honestly, it's been so long that the idea of even remembering that secret ingredient, that may not actually have been what it was. It may very well have been not rejuvenate, quicken growth. Nope. Form familiar, by the way. Nothing happens still. The names of some of these wretches are weirdly random, and I wonder if that is an experiment that was done by a different team. Like having a character just called Delightful Dancer and Medicine Maker and Oddfellow. Oddfellow kind of makes sense, but all the familiars have very specific names. Where if you told me those are generated from a list of names, I'd believe you. I guess these horses were the guards. Yeah. The names are even different between what looks like the same kind of wretches. Which I have to wonder at a certain point then, there is a potential here where each one of these wretches might be their own uniquely named character, and that might be a way to bump up the creature companion to an insane amount. Let's test that theory. We've seen 220. Hmm. Nope, they are calling these just wretches. So the names themselves are just randomly generated amongst them. And there's a gap here between 376 and 387, and then no gap at all at this point. Which does imply that the boss section, ooh, there may very well be 12 more bosses that get shown on top of potentially filling in the gaps between like 371 and 373. Hmm. Randomly named characters. I don't think really benefits this game though. Like I because I've already said that definitely if this was a Western game, this whole fight screen would be heavily reconsidered. Almost all of the heads-up display you try to get rid of. Um, yeah, if you're trying to port this like to a mobile game, you would definitely have to get rid of a lot of the overlay text. But yeah, you'd want to make it feel like a more action-based experience instead of just a button mashing, press the A button over and over again experience, which is all it is right now. Um, so we're gonna go fight the giant lady, Queen Lola. Okay. Let's go all out defense. Let's go ward. Oh, she's gonna try and do rolling attacks, I think. See if Evening Star works. 320 damage. Let's see, spell, burden. Alright. They don't really seem like they're doing too much to her. 355 as far as that spell. Unleash. What character class do we think she is? Because light and dark didn't affect her. Blizzard didn't affect her. She's about half dead, but I think we're going to get a refill here. Try Volcanic Roar. She almost hit me. You can definitely see with her movement tech where this game should have gone. Every boss should have been more physically moving around instead of simply she might just be weak to physical damage. Like instead of really doing a wind up distance attack, which is what most of them do. Let's see. But this is also kind of one of the biggest areas. Might as well just use this because we know there's going to be a second level too, or attack. Yeah, this is one of the biggest arenas where you would have a fight. And yet, it still comes at a very odd angle visually. Oh, man, I should always be doing more New Star then, shouldn't I? Because this does group damage. So I've been wasting mana. Like, her attack is pretty awful. It seems to happen very much only right in front of us. Crikey, it looks like she's getting ready for a body slam. Watch yourself, Ollie boy. She's a weapon, no mistake. Hang on, maybe if we made her even heavier, she wouldn't be able to get off the ground. Go on, Mom. Use the spell to weigh her down. Alright, well. And apparently I am supposed to do burden. Come on. Now's your chance. Go here, do Morningstar. Like, it totally makes sense to do Morningstar first and foremost. Even if that doesn't just leave you kind of doing nothing else. Now we'll need some more provisions, and I still don't know if it isn't better just to fully restore your magic. Otherwise, you do an espresso or strong coffee. Espresso, I guess, is what I should use, since fully restoring my magic could be more useful later on. If I have more than if a significant increase in magic. I guess that was the wind-up that I missed. To have done the burden again. One last Morning Star should win it for me. These are definitely not that challenging of a fight, where it kind of feels like it should be more challenging. And I kind of attribute that to the idea that the game is kind of resetting everything in this act way more than any of the other acts did. It really does just come off like this whole final act is content made by a different team or added at the last second. Hmm. 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 P does not fight. Even though it seems like she would probably be useful fighter. Hmm. Goodness, we feel as if we've awoken from a very long dream, or perhaps a very short one. How confusing. Dream about some manner of terrifying bovine monstrosity. We are not amused. Yes, you are a moo. P says that. What a dear sweet little thing you are. And where did you spring from exactly? Queen Lola, are you or oh my. That exquisite face, those sparkling eyes. The great sage of Hamlin in the flesh, no less. Young man, your picture does not do you justice. You're a vision, an absolute vision. So Queen Lola here, kind of in love or stalking the Hamlin prince. Oh yeah, she had that picture of him, ain't it? That there's creepy. Majesty, you are not injured, I hope. We're quite the picture of health, thank you very much, Abul. You would do better to worry about the state of our beloved city. Away with you, bring us news of our people at once. Yes, your majesty. Your wish will be fulfilled with all urgency. We should get back to the Iron Wyvern now, Oliver. Just fast travel us back to the Iron Wyvern. And I guess we're going to get more flashbacks. There's just one kingdom left to save now, ain't it? I still can't get over P's magic, though. A proper little wizarding powerhouse she is. Hee hee, proper. Yes, her magic can only be described as miraculous. The spell, Sanctify. It is missing from the pages of the Wizard's Companion. Oh, what about the flower? We thought if we found another one of those crystals, we might find another flower, didn't we? Sorry to disappoint you, but I had a quick nose around while you were fighting away, and I couldn't find nothing, man. There was a flower. Look, it's here. Huh? Where the flip did you find that? Do you think maybe only P can find them? That would make sense. They seem to be linked to her past somehow. I wonder if this one will teach us a bit more about her. Her knowing Sanctifying and it not being in the Wizard's Companion does make an argument that she might be from the future. I guess it might. I'm kind of nervous about what we might find out. Say, P, could you show us? Of course I can. Here. Take note how much they had to do. Yep, she is the White Witch's or the soulmate. Now she said parlous. I don't know of a word parlous. I know perilous. Pretty terrible counsel, though, if their best desire is just to control a kingdom that's failing. And it's a rather long cutscene. And there you can see P now being displayed as much older. Huh? Was that P? But she was all grown up, man. So it wasn't her. Come on, look at her. She's going to look exactly like the girl we just saw when she's that age. So you think we just saw a scene from P's future? If that were the case, her kingdom would still exist somewhere. I wonder where it could be. We thought we might finally learn the truth about P's identity, but it seems the mystery has only grown deeper. Well, I know one thing. I'm not a fan of the Council of 12 bunch. I trust them about as far as I could kick them. They're definitely plotting something. Yes, poor P. Well, standing around gasbagging ain't gonna get us anywhere, is it? There's probably more flowers out there. Let's get out and find them. All right, P. You'll tell us if you find another flower, won't you? Yes, I'll find you another one. Then we must head for the last of the three kingdoms. The battle is not yet won. This is the flower of faith. Seems kind of silly to reset back to this area just to see that cutscene. You could have just had her find the flower in the Caliphos chamber, show it to everybody then and there, and then have us move forward to the next castle. Wasting time, really. And we pretty much didn't get anything. So, yeah. Yeah, I started to say, if you think about it, this game bent over backwards to introduce the idea of P and the White Witch at the beginning of the game, particularly with the trailer on the main menu um, being a thing and spoiling most of the game. There is definitely a more concise version of this story where P as a character did not really need to show up at all in until after we beat Shadar. And the White Witch did not really need to show up at all until after we beat Shadar. And she really didn't actually show up in any real terms. Hmm. But yeah, it wasn't like the game, like they were really hinting at the White Witch to the characters, so to Oliver and those characters. Right. I want to go where the rock is, and let's see if we can land there and do anything with the rocks. So that would be fly this way, fly this way. Should be one right there. Okay, so we still are not at a point where that plays any factor at all as far as the stones. And that means unless I did seek fortune and I went and found a bunch of treasure chests in this area, which there are. Now it's not really worth the time to go into the dungeon, even though we know there is a chest in the dungeon also. I still suspect what's going to happen as far as the dungeon is that we'll have reasons to revisit all the dungeons. We may have to revisit all the dungeons even if we have 100%ed all the treasure chests in it and all of that. Let's see. Go ahead and cast Seek Fortune again. Right, so that one is up above high, I suspect. Hmm. I hate to suggest adding a farming mechanic to any game as somebody who really does not enjoy farming mechanics, but if you're going to have a game where there's just random glowing resources in space in places, and that's pretty much the only place you can collect those resources, and you actively may want to have a lot of those resources, kind of would make sense to have some kind of way to farm the ingredients. Now, does that mean it has to be literal farming? No. It could just be that you get one item and then you sell it back to the shop. And once the shop has seen it once, then the shop can restock it. Now, there are instances in RPGs where the shops run out of resources fairly quickly and you end up having to wait a lot of time to collect a resource or hope it refills. Yeah, Fallout 3 was pretty awful about that, where the actual resources in shops would not refill to any significant amount. And there was just always this major amount of shortage. Well, looks to me like that's not up on that area. Yes, there's a couple chests here. You weak. There's a girl. Nightblade. Okay. Somewhere around here is a treasure chest. Very possibly hiding high up. So I have to find where it is. Even though I'm supposedly looking right at it. It's in between those two pillars. Somewhere. There it is. That sure doesn't quite feel like that's where it was. Notice that the collection sound effect is affected by the distance of the item. Okay, so this one restores HP when it damages an enemy. This one damages anybody nearby and does a little bit damages the wielder as well as the enemy. No, I don't want to use that. It's a terrible item. I was totally misreading what that said. Which, yeah. Suffice it to say, it's fairly easy for your eyes to just kind of glaze over. And misread text in a game that is going to have a potential overwhelming amount of text. It says it is either right in this corner. Now there's a whole bunch of other ones on the islands, and I hadn't really considered that. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. There's definitely a different way, a more informed way that you could have played this game, where you would have known about these secret treasure chests. You would have had them mapped in some kind of strategy guide that would have led to much higher success. Hmm. For every standout potential um, tree or unique looking spot. Hmm. Alright, we're gonna have to cast Seek Fortune again. Hmm. Seems like it would be right there. Right. Yeah, the problem there is there's also other islands to consider, and so we should go and look at those also. Hmm. I'm hoping that I'll fairly quickly um, fairly quickly just get all 100 of the secret treasure chests collected, and then that will give me a level of confidence. See, this rock particular was different text. Hmm. It is a very slow experience here, though, particularly also with the audio kicking in and kicking out, which that's going to be annoying. The real question, certainly, to ask yourself is, did this game need a reason for you to wander around the overworld one more time? Was there a lot of players in test playing this game that would have come back and said, oh, I didn't spend that much time in the overworld. I didn't feel like there was anything to do in the overworld. And while they may have gotten that feedback, it's kind of an accurate piece of feedback to deliver. I don't know if having people wander around for treasure chests solved that complaint. I think I have to get on top. Let's see. Also, should go in here and just see. Now that we have like chart chests, for instance, there almost certainly is some kind of green chest. Nope. a bunch of these crabs. Remember when there was that point in this game where we were talking to animals and crabs? They've certainly forgotten about that at this point. Really does feel like that was just one of several laundry list elements that they wanted in this game, is to have it be fantastical and Harry Potter like or Narnia like, where you're talking to animals. I guess technically you would probably call it more Narnia like than anything else, because that's an older story. Although I doubt Narnia is the first time you would have had characters talking to animals, anyways. I guess technically that goes back to biblical times, because there's a certain passage in the Old Testament of the stubborn donkey that turned and spoke to his master. And so that would probably be one of the earliest tales of an animal talking to people, or one of the most well-known ones. Although, in all fairness, there might be talking animals in much older stories than biblical stories, too. Yeah, and I'm heavily suspecting that everything I'm picking up right now is kind of nothing items. Like things that would have been useful 10, 15 hours ago, but now are not strong enough. Yeah. Almost certainly anywhere where there's an island like this, there's going to be a treasure chest potential. Although, that being said, yeah, we may have, I think, already collected everything here. 18 more. Looking at a map. This is the bad map to look at. Yeah. We know there's one in Autumnea, and there may be almost certainly more on these islands to the east of Autumnea. I think we've probably gotten everything in the middle, and we haven't done anything in the lower left-hand corner, and I wouldn't be surprised if we've missed some treasure chests in the winter area and in between the middle and the left side. And it could only hurt so much to go and check. Worst case scenario, I suspect that would happen is we would end up flying into an area we can't reach or go to. Yeah, interesting. No treasures on that island. There's nothing here. So it's not like you just fly in this area and then it magically lands you somewhere. Find a place to land. No treasure chests here. Okay. And that leaves us with it's unlikely it's just going to be a little outcropping there. Can't land on the miasma mists or anything like that. Best case scenario is you land just outside of it, and they may not give you a wide enough place where you can actually land from the looks of it. Yeah. It doesn't really feel like there is a treasure chest in any of those areas anyways. Come on. There you go. Beetle's horn. Alright, let's land somewhere close to the pass here, because I think there's a couple of treasure chests to collect over here. Yep, there's 3 to collect over here. That should put me very close to where we want to go. You can also tell that this is not dynamically separated maps. They have intentionally broken up some areas into groups, which that is the better way to do it, certainly. Okay. Overall, though, this is a lot of time wasting. It's got to be somewhere around here. There's the other chest, but we gotta cast a spell anyway, so. What you would have to do with something like this, if you were just gonna kind of quickly adjust the amount of item drops, is you would have to either significantly increase the amount of items that are dropped after each battle, or just have you pick up items as you wander around, and it's not worth it to even walk to Hamlin. We can just fast travel there. Now the pig machine was fairly difficult boss battle, so we could be set up for some major struggle. This could be a large collection of wretches, or they may go easy on us, and I'll put that many wretches in the game. Hmm. Hmm. That was fairly echoey. Hmm. It does kind of feel like this area and this level is audio balanced in a different way to be more like a open hallway or open hall arena. Hmm. Yeah, we probably won't get anything, so now would be the time to run through all of this. You know what? Come to think of it, you probably are better off starting at the end here. And then that way, if there's resources that can be crafted or used, they'll probably be crafted and used on something better. Can make more poison fangs. I don't see a reason to do that. Make a breezy cloak. Want to have like one of everything in the bag if I can. Toughened, toughened armor. Particularly, I need to keep one of everything in the bag because there is a possibility that we'll be able to merge things and improve upon things, or even craft with things that we don't think are crafting ingredients at the moment. With the slight exception of like jumbo drops. I would potentially make a jumbo star drop. The others, not really necessary. And then food, I don't think. Well, I can make a couple of sarsaparilla sundaes, or one sarsaparilla sundae. Hmm. I can make a wildflower sundae. Should I make a wildflower sundae if I have 13 of them in the bag already? Though. Make a patty cake. 200 HP to all allies. That is probably worth making. Cheeseburgers, though. I don't think there's really that much reason to make more cheeseburgers. So, yeah, we have 14 remaining treasure chests to find. And then it is just going to be a nightmare, certainly, if I wanted to try and quickly scroll through things. Yeah, I think it is pretty much the case that anything I picked up is probably not anything. I'm not going to have secretly found a better lance, better outfit. Well, this one is better. The dead man's done, I guess. This is so tiring, though. Going through all this over and over again. Yeah, I'm gonna just assume that I've got good enough. 31 plus 22 accuracy versus 54. Yeah, we'll equip that one. Yeah, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pretty much assume that otherwise we are fine. We don't have a better axe, do we? No. This guy's still learning tricks. So is this one. A lot of these actually don't have. It doesn't really make sense. Well, I guess I just have been doing a terrible job, haven't I? Right, halitosis, poison versus petrifying puff. So I've been learning these spells, and then not even equipping them, which probably explains why a lot of these characters are not getting used or not really doing anything amazing. Let's see. Like, I don't know if I really need healthy glow and that. A lot of these spells probably also would be better off if I swapped them out. You would think it would auto-equip some of this. Healing Rain. Yep, it's kind of embarrassing that that hadn't been set up already. We are past the 60-hour mark now. Let's cast chart chest to see if there are any chests. Not chests, but yes, pots. And so that still counts instead of it just saying there aren't any nearby, which is what I think it would have done otherwise. Maybe a case that they are going to keep it the number of wretches fairly small in this direction because it is a side street. These guys are not really getting stronger. Hmm. If we beat this and it's revealed to Oliver and his friends that he is the soulmate slash White Witch, I don't think that really changes much. I don't think this group of people is gonna take the practical route of saying, well, let's just kill P and then we'll kill the White Witch as it happens. If anything, it more and more it seems like even now the White Witch uh, is not really being informed by the council, although the cutscenes seem to imply very much a different situation. Hmm. I'd assume what happened is that the White Witch broke the hearts of all of the council members and or turned them into monsters. Walking in here and walking out may respawn wretches, which that doesn't matter. These do sometimes fill up, although getting 45 guilders is pointless. Like, almost certainly it would be a case where Oliver tries to do the exact same thing, where they either try to sever the connection between the White Witch and P, um, or they try and heal the heart of the White Witch, and then that just stops the whole fight from happening. I guess it's a valid question to ask to see if to think about whether this game has had any hesitation with us fighting female characters, and maybe that would be a hesitation to have a direct fight with the White Witch. I don't really think so. We just fought the Califia, which was a cow female character. There haven't been a lot of humanoid enemies to start with. Uh, we we fought Kula's nightmare, not Kula herself. Um, and that's how it's pretty much been for all the fights, is that it's always something that's barely human. And the White Witch is more humanoid looking. But I would suspect we would fight her. They've had us use this fight mechanic a lot already. It would be kind of silly to not have a final battle between her. Mm. The duplicitous nature that's being shown by the council member Giles, I think is his name, might imply that he might end up being the real final boss battle character. That he's manipulating the White Witch more than anyone else. That's possible, but I suspect not the case. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if Giles turns out to be secretly the father of Queen P, that he faked his death. Which I suppose it is worth mentioning. They have mentioned Queen P's father. Still have yet to mention Oliver even having one. Like, one line of dialogue would have really fixed it at the beginning. If he had simply said, I never knew my father, I never met my father. Uh, Anything like that. would have at least put that to question. That would settle that question. Like, even if they had said that the father was off on a business trip and that's how Oliver was going to be allowed to stay in his house after the mother died. Hmm. You'd almost have to say he was overseas at war, though, for him not to immediately return when the mother died, though. Hmm. This is incredibly repetitive. Go all out attack, do a cut loose, and then press A couple times. Although, actually, this time I didn't do it in that order. It's a lot of button presses, too. Like, you really don't get through a fight without hitting 25 or so button presses on something that ideally you'd kind of like it to be closer to 5. I wonder if the random names are from some level of feedback. It wouldn't be crazy in a Japanese company for some high level Japanese manager to say, we want more randomness in the battles in this section. And instead of the developers going, we can't really do that, or that would be a waste of time, they'd just say, yes, we'll do it. Yes, sir. And then they create a whole system to give random names to the character and say, we've added randomness. At a certain point, it might come down to just everybody trying to save face. And so a programmer doing very little effort while following the letter of the law and not the intent of the law as far as the idea of adding more randomness in these fights. And that's not just Japanese developers though. There's a plenty of times in games where some they get feedback or they get instructions to add randomness, and then instead of adding it where it would be helpful or impactful, they add it in superficial ways, such as the name or the different outfits of a character or the different appearances of a character that has basically the same stats and attacks. Even the Borderlands example of having like bazillions of guns, that adds a, a lot of randomness in the different types of weapons you can collect, but in reality, in its actual way it's implemented, you still are going to end up finding one gun you like in a game like Borderlands and sticking with it for many, many hours. Same is true here. I'm finding one sword I want to equip, and then I'm sticking with it for an hour or two until I can find something better. And I've spent significantly more time looking to see if there are better weapons to equip versus actually equipping better weapons. I wonder if perhaps in Japanese these pun names would make a lot more sense and that they've been localized as close as possible. Because the names all kind of have been pun related. Yeah, that would be believable. Right. So I could go to the left and really accomplish nothing, or we can just go to the right. Hmm. Hmm. We've seen all the wretches there are to see. Hmm. Hmm. It is very odd, and there's really nothing else you can do in this sequence either. Like, there's no reason to go to the overworld and try and capture familiars. There's no reason to do any side quests. You couldn't do side quests even if I hadn't accomplished them at this level. Let's just skip them. Um, because you wouldn't be able to talk to the NPCs. So clearly they wanted to get through this sequence fairly quickly. Um, for that very reason of getting back to them, the NPCs being quest givers. But then there would have been a faster way to do this, certainly, too. You could have saved yourself some time, not make the wretches at all, have the mana just knock out all the regular citizens and turn the three leaders of the three kingdoms into monsters that you would have to fight through all together at once, and have all of that happen at the celebration at Ding Dong Dell. It was fairly weird that the Calphia and that Marquesian weren't just at the celebration at Ding Dong Dell. It could have been that there was a peace summit happening during that time. And then you would have probably taken less than 45 minutes to fight those three monsters as a like chain of fights. And you could, if you needed to include the wretches, you certainly could have had them on the field with the other bosses instead of the bosses being alone. Or you could have had the bosses summon wretches to their side, which that would have been fine too. Hmm. Getting 500 XP though, definitely still kind of worth it. Do we have anything in blue? Because if it's not blue, at this point I'm not going to use it. It wants the yellow. He needs a jumbo yellow to evolve. Alright. Let's take on this last fight. Oddly, that guy didn't seem like he really was running towards me. Hmm. 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 Okay. So then drop off a familiar because we have no reason to hold on to that guy. And then we'll save. Now I guess the question really would be, are we going to run into a bunch of characters? This might be a case where the doors are locked anyway, so we were going to have to fight through this group of people anyways. Sorry, I hit my microphone there. I definitely wish that there would have been more stealth sequences like the sequence that happened here, but this is not going to be a stealth sequence. We're just going to end up fighting them. That brings it to this area. That then brings us to the sewer section. Brings us back here. So yeah, we saw that coming. Spells, ward, start. And then we'll try spells, burden. He's jumping all over the place and rolling. Spells. Morningstar. This thing might be different from a tank we fought before, but it's still got the same weakness as any machine. Give it a taste of storm magic. Okay. So then we want to do storm damage to a single enemies. Which I'll just do bolt out of the blue in that case. Yeah, 256 is not bad. Spell. Unleash. Bolt from blue again. That didn't really do too much different. Let's get this show shop burning heart attack. Save ourselves some magic. And he was just about to attack me. Okay. So I'm just going to let them attack now. And then I'm going to take a moment to see if I could drink just a cappuccino to refill my health. There we go. Now I'm hoping what happens is somebody else will heal me while I do Bolt from Blue several times. Because we really don't want to end up having to use a Phoenix Feather. It looks like we'll pull this off and not even have to use that many provisions. But it is fairly obvious that at this point, it is a consistent situation where you are having to use at least one provision in every boss fight, often 5 to 10 provisions in a boss fight. I don't think I'm going to get another chance. Alright, how do we be healing touch myself, I guess. And while we're doing that, we need just a little bit more spell. I don't think at this point I would ever use anything less than a cappuccino. So it would make a lot more sense to have the game only drop cappuccinos and nothing lower than that. It'd be interesting to see a game where you really don't level up that much, if where the same health kit is as good as it ever was when you're at the end of the game as it is at the beginning of a game. At a certain point, that's not an RPG game because there is a level of expectation in role playing games to have numbers and have the numbers get bigger, even if it is kind of pointlessly it not it's kind of pointless in most games to have the numbers just constantly get larger and larger. That would lean more towards the idea of it taking 200 XP to go from level 1 to level 2, but only but then 300 XP to go from level 2 to level 3. And so on and so on, just it getting exponentially twice or requiring twice as much XP every time to level up, versus the lesser use system where it's just 100 XP every time levels you up, or 1,000 XP every time levels you up. Do you think that means everybody in Hamlin is cured now? Yep, which means it's time for the prince to tend to his people. Your Majesty, the city is in ruins. Have we been invaded by wild beasts? I watch what they call them. They were you. Us? We were the beasts? This is terrible, Your Majesty. Did we attack you? Calm yourselves. As you can see, I am unharmed. I am more concerned about the state of the great city, our great city. But our chief concern should still be to discover the cause of all this. Until I have done so, I must leave Hamlin in your hands. Captain Hogarth, your orders are to begin reconstruction immediately. Yes, Your Majesty. You go to war, do you not? You must take the latest technology with you. Received a new alchemy formula. Your forethought is as welcome as ever, Captain. I leave the Empire in your capable hands. It's kind of hard to hate on a council running a country for a royal person when you're seeing an example of this in Hamlin anyways, where it seems like it is working fairly well. Like, at a certain point, the royal leaders of most countries are mostly figureheads and not trained from birth strategic geniuses who are actually qualified to lead a country. Blimey, you actually sounded like an emperor for a moment there. Yes, it was like I was seeing a completely different person. I made a promise to my brother. Ahem. In any case, Hogarth is a fine leader. He can be relied upon to rebuild Hamlin while I'm gone. This is way too much text, and I'm stumbling on the words more and more. There's trusting you are, Rydo. Let's go back to the Iron Wyvern, shall we? We'll have to check the formula for the alchemy later. We have saved the 3 kingdoms from the scourge of mana. As a representative of the people of this world, I give you our heartfelt thanks. You're welcome, but it was all thanks to P, really. Yes, thanks to P. Yay, thanks to P, says P. And yet we're no closer to knowing who it was that sent the mana to assail us. Your magic allowed us to avert a tragedy of unthinkable proportions, P, but we cannot allow this to happen again. It would be interesting if it turned out P is the bomb, that her doing Sanctify over and over again is strengthening her up to the point where she would just become so powerful that she'd cast a Sanctify that would eliminate all life on the planet or destroy the world and reset it. Too right, Mon. We need to find out whoever was behind all this and give them a proper hiding. But we have no idea who it could be. Perhaps not, although something about P's story has been troubling me. It has? When we were in your world, she told you that the ash falling was her fault, did she not? Well, sure, but hey, there's no way it was her. That's impossible. Does it not also seem impossible that a tiny child should have the ability to reverse the effects of the mana? And yet we've seen it with our own eyes. But that is not the only reason I think she may be able to tell us more. I believe P may hold the key to unlocking this entire mystery. Yay, P's got the key. Oh, you found another flower, did you? Great. Let's have another look at what that pretty young queen. Is this really the time for your stupid comments? We need to take this seriously. What's funny is if we think about this whole final act, they've really shown an inability to write more than one female character at a time. Like Esther, as the main female protagonist of the game, has been completely forgotten about. She's barely gotten any lines of dialogue. She's not playing a part in favor of talking about P. Whereas Swain is still dealing with his brother Marquesian, so he's still getting his lines of dialogue. Oliver has always been a non-character, so they were never really writing a lot of dialogue to him. Way too much dialogue is given to Drippy. You could easily have eliminated Drippy as a character and made Oliver a much better character instead. Put all that effort into writing lines of dialogue into Oliver. And Marquesian is definitely getting some characterization and dialogue too. Indeed, I fear this next vision may not be a pleasant one. No matter, we must see the truth with our own eyes. P, would you be so kind? Here. See, the only thing I could think is maybe there's a reason why Captain Kublai needs to see these visions too. They're reusing the animation and recapping the story. I think they're skipping the part where the father may have been killed. It really is just four or five animation panels. And again, this doesn't come off as 100% guaranteed Ghibli animation. Doesn't look that polished. Hmm. Seems like she accidentally made a trap. You now know the name of the city. Why did it not kill the bird? Or maybe it did. Crikey, that's tragic. The spell she used went and ruined her whole country, the mana of which she spoke. It's the same thing we've been dealing with here. So the person behind this is Queen Cassiopeia? Cassiopeia? She may not have intended any harm, but it seems a distinct possibility. You're right. She said she would be waiting, didn't she? In a place called Nazca. Smelly old Nazca, says P. Nazca, eh? Crikey. That's a blast from the past. What? What is it? Do you know something about this place? The fabled kingdom of Nazca was the seat of an advanced civilization that disappeared almost overnight. 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years? And Queen Cassiopeia has been waiting for all that time? If we can find the site of the ancient kingdom, perhaps we can solve the mystery of the mana at last. Yeah, and we can stop her from ever using it again. Yeah, we have to stop her. Alright, let's go find the kingdom of Nazca. So, the assumption here is that Queen Cassiopeia put all of her memories into the flowers and then either lost the memories or changed her mind and became the White Witch. Flower of Hope. Game's just not going to give you any other hints at all. It's just like, you want to give me more of a direction to go other than go find this lost city for 10 that's been lost for 10,000 years. Hmm. It seems like it may very well be just a case that um, P may know directly where it is. So, P, by the way, terrible name for a kid. Just because of the urine jokes, you're gonna have that child endure. Although, if you're gonna give a funny name to somebody, queens might be the best ones to give funny names because not that many people are gonna dare make fun of her. And every time we're just talking to everybody just to be fairly certain. Still a little weird that these characters are here because it really makes it more seem like these characters are here just because they wanted you to remind you they existed. Particularly the father is weird. He could have just been turned into a wretch in Alma Moon. There's no reason to Neely to revive him, and same is true for her. Same could have even been true for him. All right. New formula. Highway handgun with required drill screws and a blowpipe. Which means, yeah, we can't craft it. And we may have something here, but maybe not. Wasn't a horn or claw that we got from the guy. Probably wasn't an axe. Probably wasn't a spear. Didn't look like a sword either. I could have sworn we got something from the tank. But I don't see it. I wish you could equip things from this screen. It really is a nightmare system where some screens just do not balance out to and connect to other screens. Like there really is no reason to let the player look at items in this order in this subscreen if you can't do anything around it. Improve the performance of handguns. Interesting. So this one and this one are upgrade items. I don't know if there are any other upgrade items. Probably not. Alright, well, let's move the story forward. Find the lost island in Nazkia. Come on, Oliver, let's ride on Tinny all the way to Nazkia. It's not foggy there anymore. Come on, we gotta go. But do you know where Nazca is? Yes, I do. It's the place where with the big birdie picture. Big birdie picture. Like a big picture of a birdie? Yes, silly. A big birdie. Like, doodle do. Get Trini to put us down on Big Birdie, Oliver. Doodle do. That's that Gallus bloke, ain't it? How come she knows so much about him? Well, we can worry about that later. We need to start looking for Nazca, Ollie boy. And that means we start looking for pictures of birdies. Let's take a ride on Teen Green and see if we can find the place Pete's talking about. Alright, well, do you have to do anything really? No. The map is just telling you exactly where to go. Oops. Maybe not point the character so close that turning to the left ends up putting you there. So yeah, the only thing I'd complain about here is that that island does not look like a big bird. The island above it does, however, look like a big chicken. So I don't know if we are supposed to be landing on the chicken island or directly where the star is pointing. It seems like very much a plot contrivance to have it just work. Because that's the big birdie picture they're talking about. All right, well, we will take that. And so this was a kind of fairyland at one time. And let's see if we look at the map. In this case, let's see what we can see. It is now more revealed. Seems like a mistake to have an island that looks like a chicken, that looks enough like a chicken for to me to make some sense. That it actually is a chicken. Nothing's labeled here. So seek fortune. There is enough here. We got some different music playing. We can't interact with this picture. It's a whole sunken in area of forest. I assume we're going to have some characters that are going to actively try and attack me. It would be a little silly if that wasn't the case. It might also be a there's a lizard carving. Yep. We should try our hand here. Let's see how this goes. We don't want these to be too easy, but we also don't want them to be incredibly hard. That felt fairly balanced for this game. Not crazy difficult. We're still going to have to unlock a whole bunch of quests, though. because if I'm going to increase my ability to encounter and capture characters, that still needs to happen. I would need to do several quests. Hmm. 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 Well, it does seem like you have to just work your way all the way around. Interesting. This is, I guess, an example of them spending uh, as much effort as possible to keep you in the overworld for as long as possible by spiraling you around. Well, that was a heavy hitter. Hmm. Alright, well, let's see what Marquesian. I don't think we've really even used Marquesian. Hmm. Hmm. Immediately seeing that he has different spells does imply to me that he should, um, like, all of his spells should be the same as Oliver's, and that they should share spells, or he shouldn't be a playable character at all, which is also makes some sense. It wouldn't make a ton of sense to try and level up Marquesian much. Almost certainly going back to Swain. Hmm. You see all these carvings of animals, and I think it is going to be intentionally in a sharp contrast to um, a bunch of robots that we start seeing once we actually get in the city. Hey, I'm petrified. It's starting to struggle. Honestly, there's not that much that I think I can really improve on these characters. Come on. Hmm. It's one more to capture. At the very least, I'd like to see a doubling of the amount of XP and gold you get per fight if you were going to keep the same amount of fights. Arguably, a quadrupling and cutting the fights in half would kind of work too. There is a scenario certainly where you could make an RPG game that says there are 10 people in this open world area. You have to kill all the people in this area before you're allowed to end the city each time. that would be a consistent experience, a much more consistent experience. Whereas you could have some speedrunners attempt to race through sections of this game and then be really underleveled, where other people will attempt to grind through the area a lot more and be over leveled. I'm leaning more towards the idea of trying to be over leveled, but I'm not really succeeding at it, and that's often my attempt in RPGs, is that I'd like to be overpowered and over leveled, and I'd like for it to stay that way through the vast majority of the gameplay, but it never really happens. And almost certainly part of the reason for that is because they just don't balance the amount of XP you need and the stats anywhere as good as it would seem like the game would imply it does. You can get away with bloody murder with an unbalanced RPG and blame the player for it, as long as there are ways to grind through it. Inherently, I think that's also part of the reason why Western video game critics tend not to really play with or stick with RPG games for very long. But then Western video game critics also are often just given save files and cheating elements so that they don't have to experience the same experience that an average player would experience. Yeah, sure, if somebody potentially gives you a 100% save file where your character is at level 100 at the very beginning, that's going to be a lot easier, but that's also a different experience. Now, arguably, you can do the same for yourself. A modded save file for Ni no Kuni, if it had started me at level 100 with the characters, might have saved me some time. But that would have been too much of a mod, certainly. And it wouldn't have let me catch familiars. Yeah. If anything, you might want to, if there was a modded save file that just started you at like level 10 at the game, give you 10 extra levels. Let's see. Look, man, there's another one of the massive, great big pictures on the ground here. It's a bit faded, but I reckon a quick spell might bring it back. Oops. Well, then I may have to come back here and cast a spell on more of these carvings. I thought I was just going to cast the bridge spell. Tingri can now land on the Nazkian plains. Okay. So it still is the bridge spell. Get over there. They've just had us do a different spell so that we could land closer. And so I'm just going to hope that all the other carvings don't really mean anything. I guess the thing to do would be to check out this one carving that's right next to it. even fighting these like last tier evolutions of the monsters or filling out our creature compendium, I think probably a lot faster than it would seem or than you would think. Hmm. 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 Well, that didn't work. Hmm. 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 If I'm wrong about what I think is going to happen, and we walk into the Nazcaen city, Nazca, and then the White Witch is there, and that's just the end of the game. Well, that would be weird, because then how would we be able to get more quests or do anything? The Ara Memoria. It's just a big platform. Is this an altar? No, silly. They're my flower pots. Flower pots? But they haven't got a single flower in them, Mon. Maybe we need to put some in. That's right, flowers in the flower pots. Well, we could try planking something in there, I suppose. Can't hurt, can it? Indeed, they must serve some purpose. Alright, let's go ahead and heal ourselves. Hmm. No. No refill. I was hoping that there'd be a save refill location here. There basically is no way that you would be in this point and not have the 3 flowers on you. Although, I'm not sure if the flowers are actually in the inventory. Yes, they are. And you could certainly make this longer, and there could be some kind of battle or puzzle or trigger here. So, Flower of Faith goes in here. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like there is a scenario where you would have gotten 1 flower by going to 1 city. Then you would have been able to reach this area because they didn't even tell you that this was the area and put in a flower. So this just screams that one group of people made the idea of having 3 keys, which is effectively what the flowers are, and an altar. And then a different group of people implemented the idea of having 3 battles in a row first to give those 3 keys before you even see the lock. That's terrible game design. You should see the lock well before you have the key. And that's stuff that was established in early Zelda games. Hmm. Hmm. I bet that's the same animation 3 times rotated. Yeah, it looks like it is. I was expecting something more here, though. Not something that may just teleport us. Let's see. Whoa, what's happening? Brace yourselves, everyone. At last we meet. Cassiopeia. What's going on, P? All this time, I have been waiting. Here, in Nazca. This is supposed to be Nazca? Well, I guess it could have been. Or the area around her could be Nazca. I knew it. The island was the seat of the Nazcan civilization. What? You knew all along? Not for certain, but you must have seen them too, my dear brother. The ruins on this island, they were clearly the remnants of an incomprehensible ancient civilization, incomparably ancient civilization, if I can read right. You can do your archaeological lectures later, Mun. What about the voice we just heard? If I'm not very much mistaken, that was Cassiopeia. That's right, Mun. The queen them flowers showed us, ain't it? My flowers. They guided you. See, I flipping told you. Shh, she's trying to tell us something. I have been waiting. And now, here, where all began, time has come. My final act. So did she go crazy? Hmm. Well, that would explain why I couldn't see her. Hmm. Hmm. I'm still not sure if this means that she's the White Witch or not. It seems like the council just came out of nowhere. Hmm. If she was alive for 10,000 years, then she would have had a soulmate when she in the other world, in the real world, didn't have of somebody who's been alive for 10,000 years. You think somebody would have noticed that. Unless we're just done with the idea of soulmates at this point. It doesn't make sense that Cassiopeia would have her own soulmate as herself, even though that does seem to be what they're hinting at. It should be the first time they've even heard of the White Witch. Hmm. That's a big floating city. That's the name of one of the Ghibli movies. It's weird we go from press A to continue to cutscene where it doesn't press A to continue. Where you don't have to press A to continue. Back to back. It's ridiculous that there's two different systems. And they just leave it at that. I'd like to thank you all for agreeing to meet us at such short notice. It's not often that one is summoned to a place like this. One presumes it's a matter of gravest importance. Indeed it is. We have identified the one responsible for the white ash that so nearly destroyed our kingdoms. She is, in fact, the owner of the floating palace you see before you. The White Witch. She is the source of all of this evil? One sees, noble friends, it would seem the time has come for three kingdoms to fight as one. Indeed, we would be grateful for any assistance you can provide. Peoples of the world must unite. Our need has never been greater. We are greatly moved by your call to arms. Abul, return to Almoon at once and instruct the viziers to prepare for war. We shall need floaty things, swoopy things, and plenty of shooty things. At your command, your majesty. Well, one cannot very well shirk one's responsibility at a time like this. You shall have the finest soldiers Ding Dong Dell has to offer. Excellent. The three kingdoms shall combine their strengths and strike as one. I'd almost assume that this would just fail miserably. Yep. Very odd to have the game continuously now at this point drop us back to the floating island. Let's see. I still suspect, or it still looks like, that this is where the floating castle is going to be at some point, but maybe not. We still haven't done anything with the rocks, which is weird. Zoom out of the wizard's companion. Don't think we have new formulas. We don't have new quests. There wasn't a city there to deal with. We potentially could have picked up something that was useful, but also is going to be a nightmare to try and figure out what those things were. I may very well be getting items that still are not as good. I have not found a new city with anything to buy, so it's impossible to... This is better. It's kind of impossible to spend the money without having something to spend the money on. It's just growing larger and larger, which means it's going to really, really suck when I die. Since this game does center around magic, it would be really cool if you got a spell that just lets you turn all of your weapons into your highest level weapons. That wouldn't be a terrible idea. Just transmute a low level weapon into a high level weapon with potentially no other cost included at all. Let's see. Yeah. The only thing is maybe there's something like this. Yeah, that might be it. Everything else should be best equipped. Right. And then as far as all of this, but scroll through all of this fairly quickly, I can determine whether in opening those few other chests I might have something. There is still weirdness though. Like we still have yet to use or unlock those new spells. So is it just going to be a post-game thing where you beat the White Witch, you beat the game, and then all of a sudden you make... Let's see, we don't have any of this, so I'll craft one of those. It might be a post-game thing. Like it very well may just be a post-game thing where a whole bunch of spells are unlocked. Or it just may be a case that we aren't anywhere close to the end of the game. I don't know how that could be the case, though. Still really not getting the kind of resources I would want. I can make 2 sandwiches, 2 cheeseburgers. But that will basically mean that I won't have any food to feed anybody, so we still have yet to get this guy's familiarity up to the maximum like we would like it to go. I could feed him some of these instead. And if it gets down to a point where it looks like we're at the end of the game, I may do that anyways, just to see what happens when you get familiarity all the way to the maximum. It really feels like the familiarity system simply exists to limit you. We've done nothing as far as pieces of heart. That seems like that has been totally forgotten about. As far as active quests, we only have the snow-loving creatures quest. And as far as stamp cards, if we finish that quest, it doesn't help us get anywhere closer to unlocking this or this. Honestly, I should just unlock that. As far as progress reports go, it says the wizard's compendium is at 84%. So there's still more to be unlocked. Alchemy has only gotten up to 33%. Hidden treasures is at 91% of, well, 91 of 100 is 91%. Task completion still at 74%. We have this whole other section. If we look at what we have here, all the stories are unlocked. We still have yet to see any Noblia monsters. And we still have several spells that should unlock. And several spells that, like Mimic here, seem to be beyond the reach of me. Seem to be something I just can't do. Even though we unlocked them a long time ago. Maybe it is a case where these were ideas of spells and they wanted it in the Wizard's Companion, but you're just never going to cast them. Gateway, Form Familiar were the first two. Shapeshift. It's very weird that we wouldn't have done that, because there's just no way to cast that spell. It's not like there's an interface here on the PC version. And some of those spells are actually very good. So it would really suck for them to be missing. Actually, come to think of it, if you look at the top tabs there has to be a whole other tab that is yet to unlock. Interesting. RPGs, JRPGs in particular, have this problem of making it seem like you're going to end the game fairly quickly, and then they spring it on you, and there's still a lot more content. I can't help but feel like there is still a lot more content, or is there just is going to be post game content after the final battle. It says prepare yourself for the final battle. I question whether we really are just going to fight the White Witch, because that really ignores the whole council members and Gallus. Like, they've set up all of this as fairly important storyline beats. It should pay off in some way. We should fight at least some of the council and then fight the White Witch. Also, if we've defeated her mana spell already, I don't know if she's just going to cast a more powerful mana spell later. Like, it didn't seem like what she casted the first time was strong enough to really destroy the whole world. Alright, well, that's another 2 hours and 20 minutes of gameplay, so that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.